You pray and nothing changes. The pain stays, the fear stays, the silence stays. You try to feel God, but you feel nothing. No peace, no presence, just a tiredness that never ends. A desire to cry, without knowing why. You wonder what's wrong. You pray harder. You fast. You ask forgiveness for things you're not even sure you did. But the more you try, the emptier you feel. As if praying reminds you how alone you are. As if God were near, yet too far to reach. It feels like heaven stopped answering. Your mind starts to doubt. Your heart tries to believe. But your body feels the weight of silence. And you think, why pray if nothing changes? Maybe no one knows. But you're tired of pretending faith. Tired of posting verses while feeling empty inside. Tired of hearing trust God and feeling nothing. Tired of thinking your faith is the problem. But what if this emptiness isn't punishment? What if it's God teaching you to stop chasing feelings? What if this silence is the beginning of healing? Because the void that scares you is the same place where He wants to meet you. If this emptiness speaks to you, and it's because God is calling you, not to another video, but to an awakening. Here, every story helps you understand what He's doing in your silence. Because sometimes, what feels like distance is just preparation. Subscribe now, not to fill your time, but to feed your soul. Every week, you'll find clarity, faith, and purpose, and you'll remember, God never stopped speaking. You were just learning to listen. This channel is for those tired of shallow answers, for those who want to understand themselves, not just survive their pain. Here, psychology meets faith, and the human meets the divine. Click now and discover the reason behind it all. You pray every day, but something inside you doesn't answer. The mind speaks of faith, but the heart is tired, and the body feels disconnected from the soul. You repeat verses, but don't believe them. And you ask, and why can't I feel anything? You call it weak faith, but it's deeper than that. It's like your soul detached from its center. Jung called this separation from the self, the spiritual core. When a person lives from the outside in, seeking God as anesthesia, not communion, you learn to measure faith by emotion. If you cried, it was presence. If you felt chills, it was confirmation. But now, God is teaching you another language, silence. He wants to mature you from sensation to awareness, from thrill to conviction. That's why the emptiness hurts. It's your soul crying for return. You're not being punished, you're being called. But God's call doesn't always have sound. Sometimes it's the weight in your chest, the lump in your throat, the quiet prayer. It's His presence shaping you without stirring you. The ego hates this. It wants to feel, prove, control. But God wants to break control, to teach you to trust even when you feel nothing. Because faith isn't emotion, it's surrender. You pray asking for answers, but God wants reaction. Not a new experience, but a real surrender. The faith that continues without response. The one that prays not to feel, but to stay. That's where spiritual maturity begins. Jung said when the ego collapses, the self awakens. The breakdown becomes meeting. The soul lets go of the false god, the god of feelings, and finds the real one, the god of silence. It's painful, but freeing, because only in emptiness does real encounter happen. The problem was never God being distant. It was your distracted soul, looking for signs while the Spirit called you inward. You didn't lose faith, you lost the noise, and you're learning to hear what's always been there. God never stopped speaking, you're just listening differently. This emptiness is the bridge between old and new, between childish faith and conscious faith. It's where the soul stops chasing emotion and starts seeking essence. It's not the end of faith, it's its birth, and that's why silence scares you. It's the mirror showing what's left when everything goes quiet, but it's also the doorway to something greater. God isn't absent, He's rebuilding. The presence didn't disappear, it just changed shape. You thought faith was about feeling. That presence meant chills. That a good prayer was the one that made you cry. But you didn't notice you were addicted to emotion, calling stimulation spirituality, and mistaking comfort for communion. For years, you sought God to escape yourself, to calm guilt, to silence fear, to fill the void. But prayer isn't pain relief. It's confrontation with truth, and truth doesn't always comfort. You created an emergency God, called Him when it hurt, forgot Him when it passed, prayed just to feel better. But God doesn't want to numb you. He wants to wake you up. The ego loves to feel spiritual. It loves songs. tears, promises, but not silence, not confrontation. It doesn't want a God who changes it, only one who soothes it. So when God stops soothing, you think he's gone, but he's only growing you. You confuse absence with test, but God is doing separation, breaking your need to feel to believe, because that's not faith, it's dependency. You don't seek God, you seek relief. That's why the emptiness stays. Emotional faith looks pretty, but it's fragile. It depends on mood, on music, on outcome. It's faith that constantly needs proof, but God doesn't want to keep you crawling. He wants to make you stand. He wants to make you stay, so he stays silent, to show who's really leading, emotion or spirit, to teach that presence isn't measured by feeling, but by transformation. You feel nothing, yet you still pray. That's faith, the purest kind. The illusion ends when you see that chills aren't presence, and silence isn't absence. God isn't far. He's lifting you, stripping away the shallow faith, and calling you to maturity, faith that believes even when the heart feels nothing. You weren't rejected by God. You were invited to grow, to leave emotional noise and enter real presence. God doesn't want you to feel more. He wants you to be more, because feelings fade, but being in him remains. And that's where most give up, because faith without emotion feels cold. But that's when it becomes real, when it no longer needs proof, when the soul stops begging for signs and starts living by conviction. You thought the emptiness was the end, but it was always the call, the abyss inside you, calling the abyss of God. Depth calling to depth. The absence you feel is the echo of his forming presence. God didn't walk away. He went deeper. The silence that scares you is sacred. It's the sound of invisible work being done. While you think nothing's changing, everything's being realigned. The soul's being cleared of noise. Faith's being purified of dependence on feelings. And the Spirit's teaching you to stay. God isn't punishing you. He's detoxing you from emotion, breaking your addiction to chills, quick answers, and instant comfort. He's digging your heart to make space for real presence, because there's no transformation where there's still hurry. Silence is his rebuilding. Deep calls to deep. It's the Spirit calling you inward, calling you to layers you've never touched, to a kind of faith that doesn't need signs, because those who dive into that depth find peace, even without understanding a thing. You prayed for God to come, but he was already there, within, waiting for your ego to tire, waiting for the noise to stop, so he could speak without interference, so he could dwell where only emotion once lived. The presence of God didn't vanish, it just changed depth. What once made you feel now calls you to be whole, even in silence, to have faith without proof, and peace without explanation. Emptiness isn't the opposite of presence. It's the ground where it's born. It's the gap between old and new, between asking and trusting, between speaking and listening. It's the space where the human meets the divine. God isn't withholding answers. He's teaching another language, one only silence can translate, one only a mature heart can hear. The language of presence, not emotion. The language of transformation. The abyss that scares you is the one that heals you, because there the ego dies down and the soul begins to breathe again. You're not losing faith. You're crossing into the real kind, the faith that stays when heaven seems quiet. God is teaching you to love the unseen, to trust without guarantees, to recognize the presence that needs no proof. Emptiness isn't absence, it's invitation, and silence isn't punishment, it's encounter. Deep calling unto deep. Write in the comments, now I understand why, because when you speak what your soul finally understands, transformation begins to take shape inside you. You don't need to feel God to walk with him, but you need to place yourself where he can shape you. The first step is simple. Stop fighting the silence. Accept stillness as part of the process. Breathe and say, I am here. Presence begins with willingness, not sensation. Stop demanding signs, answers, emotion. Stop checking if faith came back, if the feeling returned. That only feeds spiritual anxiety. Prayer isn't a presence test, it's surrender. And surrender needs no proof. When you pray, speak less, sit, breathe, stay with God without asking for anything. Even if the mind runs, return gently. This is the spiritual training that builds roots. Write what you feel, even if it's nothing. Name the silence, the fatigue, the fear. When you write, you sort your soul. When you sort, you see. When you see, God enters the cleared space. Clarity is spiritual. Pray like this: God, I don't feel, but I stay. I don't understand, but I remain. I don't see, but I trust. That's not weakness, that's maturity. Heaven responds when the soul learns, and consistency is born without emotion. Choose a daily moment to sit in silence with God. 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Start small. No music, no distractions, no expectations. Just you, your breath, and Him. This heals the soul that confused faith with stimulation. This rebuilds the inner home. Forgive your pace. Don't demand spiritual speed. What God is building in silence is too deep to rush. Don't force feeling or fake spirituality. Return to what is simple, raw, honest. Truth heals more than intensity. Give thanks without feeling gratitude. Worship without feeling presence. Persevere without feeling strength. The soul learns through practice, not impulse. First you plant, then you feel. God works in the gap. When fear whispers, "You're alone," answer, "I'm not trying to feel, I'm learning to be." That breaks the ego's argument. That ends spiritual insecurity. Faith no longer depends on the weather of the heart. It depends on the choice to stay. Breathe. Stay. Do not run from silence. God is inside it. And those who endure silence find the God who speaks in depth. This is healing. You used to fear silence, but now you understand. God wasn't punishing you. He was preparing you. He silenced the world so you could hear within, to separate emotion from presence, to teach you how to remain whole. The emptiness that scared you became home. The place that hurt is now an altar. You no longer need feelings to believe, or chills to pray. Faith stopped being reaction. It became awareness. You no longer pray to feel something. You pray to be with Him. No hurry, no proof, no noise. The heart learned to trust the unseen, and the unseen began to give peace. Peace that depends on nothing. The silence that once felt heavy now soothes. You no longer seek comfort. You seek communion. You no longer try to fill the void. You understand its purpose, because now you know God speaks in many ways, and the deepest one has no sound. Only a mature soul can hear it. What once was pain became direction. What seemed like absence was hidden presence. What seemed like punishment was care. God didn't remove emotion. He removed the noise. To show you that faith isn't about feeling, it's about knowing. Now, when silence returns, you don't run. You close your eyes and breathe. And remember, He's here. Even if nothing outside changes, everything inside has. And that's what truly matters. The void lost its power. Fear lost its voice. You no longer seek emotion. You seek meaning. You don't need God to prove anything, because He already proved everything, in silence. And that's enough. Today your prayer is simple. No performance and no demand. Only truth, only presence. You realized God doesn't want intensity. He wants wholeness. You're no longer the same person who prayed for relief. Now you pray for transformation. The abyss that swallowed you became a bridge, and the faith that seemed dead was reborn mature. You don't need to feel to know, because now you know. God never left. You just had to descend to where He was, in the deep, in the quiet, where the human ends and the divine begins. Before continuing this journey, subscribe to Soul Logic. Here, each story reveals why you suffer and what God is teaching you through it. Psychology to understand yourself, spirituality to understand why. For those of you who made it to the end of this video, write in the comments, "I know He is there, even in the silence," because whoever declares this transforms emptiness into presence.